So there are many methods for helping us to deal with our mind, but we have limited time, and so I'm only going to deal with two main things here. One is the question of learning how to become more conscious and more centered, which in Buddhist terms is called more mindful. People always are complaining that they have no time to practice, and that they are very stressed and very busy. And so this question of being mindful, of being present, is very, very useful, because it doesn't take time. It's basically doing something and knowing that we are doing it. Mostly when we do things, we're thinking about something else at the same time. And this is very stressful for the mind, because we're always thinking of 2 or 3 things simultaneously and doing something else at the same time. And this creates a lot of tension and stress in the mind. It's quite exhausting. But if, when we do something, or say something, or think something, we actually are conscious of what we are doing, or saying, or thinking, then there's no stress. And actually the mind feels very relaxed but very poised. However, our minds are not used to staying in the present. Our minds are very happy dwelling in the past and the future. It's very hard for us actually to stay right here and now. And if we try to do so, we realize how skippy the mind actually is. Normally, as I say, because we go along with whatever we're thinking, it's like a river on which we're caught in the flood and we just flow along with it. We don't realize that there's a problem. It's only when we say, okay, no, I'm not going to be in the river anymore, I'm going to step out onto the bank and just watch the river without being part of the river, that we find how actually quite difficult this is for us most of the time. So we need to practice. It's like with anything. If you want to be, today it was raining as we were coming here to the theater, but still there were guys out on the fields practicing their football. They didn't care they got wet. They didn't care that it was cold. They knew if they were going to beat the other team, they had to practice. So if sportsmen know that you need practice, musicians know you need practice, anybody who wants to cultivate a skill has to practice. How much more so to become the masters of our minds? It takes practice. So, practice. Right. Well, one thing is to start learning how to be present. And obviously that is easier if we are in a situation where actually we're not doing anything except trying to be present. So we can start by doing a small practice. It doesn't have to be long. I mean, even 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to start with. Sit nicely. Those of you that can sit on the floor, sit on the floor. Those of you who have problems, you can sit in a chair, keeping your feet on the ground. The important thing is to keep the back upright. And you can have your eyes slightly open or closed, whichever is easier for you. And then just allow the mind to completely relax. Really, the important thing is to realize that for these few minutes, there is nothing in the world more important than just sitting. Not thinking, sitting. So then we try to bring our mind to have attention first to the breathing out and the breathing in, noticing it as the breath hits the nostrils. It's very simple. If it helps, one can count, maybe up to 5 or 10, counting usually the out breath. That just is to center the mind and see how far we get before our thoughts intrude. Just watching the breath, just knowing it as it goes out, pause for a moment, comes back in, pause for a moment, goes out, and counting 1, 2, 3, and sit. The mind will still be thinking. The important thing is not to worry about thoughts. Thoughts are not the enemy. Thoughts don't matter. The problem is not thoughts, it's nature of the mind to think. The problem is not the thoughts, the problem is identifying with thoughts. And in this time of strict sitting practice, getting carried away and fascinated by the thoughts. Ignore them.